Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. But today's episode is going to be quite different. We just had two hurricanes, so the ocean's kind of angry right now. Can't really get out on the water, so I want to kind of take the time and go over some lobstering spots that I tend to frequent. And I'm not going to give any specific coordinates out. But I kind of want to show you guys the ropes and where to find lobsters, just so it kind of takes the guesswork out of it. But as many of you know, lobsters during the day, they love to hide under rocks, ledges, deep inside holes and whatnot. So really anything with structure, you'll find lobster. So we're going to use Google Maps here. So I'm going to kind of go through up and down the coast here of Florida. Now I'm in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, but we'll go all the way down to the Keys, and we'll kind of show you exactly, where to go and whatnot. Now, keep in mind that, I launch from a kayak, and kayaks, at least in Fort Lauderdale, we can't launch, wherever we see fit. There's designated areas that you can launch from. Now, so we'll start with that. Now, if you come here, and so this is Dania Beach. Oh, let me pull up here. Okay, so Dania Beach. So let's just scroll in. So here's the pier. Okay, you can't. You got to stay away from the pier. I think you got to be a couple 100 feet away. But in any toke here, there is a structure here. Just north of the pier, and it's called the Eurojacks, and you can't really see it. I think this is too far north for this to be called the Eurojacks. I think it's just north here of the pier. Really, if you run north, you'll run into it, but they look like a bunch of X's, just kind of like sitting in the water. But there's some lobsters in there as well. But this is a very frequently dived site, so it might be overfished. But really, the most important thing here is you can see the reef that really spans the entire length of the coast. And it's like this brown streak here in the water. And okay, you can kind of follow it down the coast. Okay, so this is the very first reef, and this reef here is about 30 feet, maybe 25, 20 at the top of the reef. But this is a couple 100 yards out. It's quite a swim if you're going to beach dive that. But you literally can, not snorkel, but dive this whole first reef here. And I guarantee you will find lobsters there. Just a matter of getting out there and getting them. Now, there are some rocks here, okay? Maybe, 100 yards off the beach, right? There's a good amount of rocks right here. I've dived these rocks several times, and I've never seen any lobster there. I've seen people lobster there all the time. I see dive flags and boats there. But to be honest, I personally never seen any lobster there, so I don't really bother with that. Like I said, it's always the first reef here where I see the most lobsters. Now, again, kind of going back to, where you can launch your kayak. For me, I like to, launch my kayak from any of these streets, from Franklin Street all the way down. You can go all the way down, I think, until I want to say it's Liberty Street. Yes, okay. You can launch from Liberty Street all the way up pretty much till Dania Beach Boulevard here. So that's all open for kayaks, paddle boards, and whatnot. Paddle out there. Like I said, you can check out the rocks, but make your way out to the first reef. and again, you'll get lobster, not a problem. Now there is another reef line here, okay, that gets about 60 feet, and then there's another reef line here that's at about 90 feet. So it goes about 30, 60, and 90. But obviously you got to use scuba and whatnot. Generally speaking, and from my experience, that lobstering here in Fort Lauderdale, I almost always get my limit. But also I've noticed that the lobsters are much bigger than in the Keys. I don't see there. I don't believe you can have any commercial traps up here in Fort Lauderdale, so you don't see any of those commercial traps like you do in the Keys. So I don't think that the lobsters get sucked up as quickly, and they leave you more, and they're generally a lot bigger. Because it just seems like the Keys tend to just get picked over a lot, and just the commercial fishing and all that good stuff. I'm not saying that there's not commercial fishermen, but there's no traps up here, so that's always a positive. All right, so heading south, again, you will have to look at each beach, the rules and regulations to see exactly where you can launch your kayak from. Another spot that I would like to try is to launch from the Camden boat ramp. Let me see. I believe it's a little further south. Here we go. Crandon, not Camden. Crandon. Shows you how many times I've been there. But if you launch from this boat ramp, if you paddle out here, okay, you don't want to be in this area here. Okay, this is where all the cruise ships come in and out of. Stay away from that, okay? You want to be just south of that. So there's a lot of structure here, okay? A lot of structure, a lot of reef. Definitely a good spot to even spearfish as well as lobster. So that's another good way to kind of check out. I will say this, that area probably a little sharky, just really anything Biscayne area, Biscayne Bay can be a little sharky. All right, so heading south. So let's go to the Keys here. Now this is all protected area here. Okay, you can't get any lobsters in this area. A good app to download is Navionics. Now you have to pay like a year subscription. What I've noticed is in Navionics. Let me see if I can show you. Oh, it looks like Garmin bought it out. So Garmin Navionics, and you can find lobster spots. People who have mapped out rocks and whatnot, they've saved them on here. They've already mapped them out for you. Let me show you an example. Yes, like Tom's Harbor. So Tom's Harbor has so this is what it looks like. People mark, where some lobsters are. Now, I'm not sure if these people realize that they make it public, right? But it says Bug Heaven. So if I scroll over top of it, it says Bug Heaven. So bugs, we call lobsters bugs in Florida. But again, Navionics is also a good app to use to find structure, because even with this relief shading, I can see the bottoms and where some structure is. So that's definitely a good tool to use. And if you're a beginner, definitely a good area or a good starting point to find your own holes and whatnot. All right, so back to the map here. So Key Largo. And now John Penny Camp, you cannot take lobster out of John Penny Camp. So just be aware of that. Really, I think probably is one of the most good areas to lobster is either Marathon, or if you come back here to Duck Key. Okay, now Duck Key is unincorporated, so in the laws and regulations about lobster hunting or lobster fishing or whatever, when the area is considered unincorporated, means that you can lobster. You don't have to stay 300 feet off of like a jetty, or you don't have to worry about those kind of laws. So you can technically lobster. These are all rocks right here. Okay. Now there's only a few feet, and I mean, to be honest, you don't even need a kayak to lobster this area. Even along the highway here, these are all rocks right here, and this gets kind of deep. So lobstering these rocks right here, just pull your car up, get some dive fins, mask, snorkel, and dive flag, and hit these rocks. I guarantee you that there will be lobsters there, and I've seen people dive these spots. I mean, I would even check out these telephone poles here in the water. Just be careful. The bridge there's quite a bit of current there. But if you're brave enough to dive the bridge, the pilings on the bridge, are hold a lot of lobster there as well. I would do that from a boat. I wouldn't do that from a kayak or do that by yourself. But again, Duck Key here is a real good place to go. I've done many dives here in my earlier days. Yep. All right. So moving on down. Now, you can venture out into the bay here, like into the Gulf. And, the best ways to find your own holes is just to get out there, get your face in the water and find the holes and start marking them yourself. Now, just because you find a hole that's filled with lobster doesn't mean it's going to be filled with lobster the next day, right? They move. They're nocturnal. They get out. They move. They hunt for dead fish and anything that's laying on the ground. So, just because you have marks and holes, doesn't mean that there's going to be lobster in them. So, you just get out there and start, snorkeling and finding your own holes here. It's really the best way. But even here, I don't think you can lobster here at Coffin's Patch. But all these patch reefs are fair game too. But again, that's about a 5-mile hike right there. Not really accessible from a kayak. I mean, it is, but it's a hell of a ride, at least for me in my kayak. But maybe if you have a trolling motor, by all means, get out there. So let's make our way south here again. Another popular lobstering spot is the 7 Mile Bridge, right? Same thing about the other bridge I was telling you about. Fishing or snorkeling or diving the pilings. Now, the initial part here of the 7 Mile Bridge is pretty shallow. I think like the deepest it gets is in these channels here. Maybe it gets like 20 feet or so. But yeah, diving. Now you want to dive these bridges on what's called a slack tide. So when the current is either at the top of the currents, right, when it's a high tide, or when it's on the swing, when it's at low tide and start to swing up. So usually you have about maybe an hour at most with the slack tide. Now, let's move up here. These mangrove islands can also hold lobsters, okay? So they can have some deep cuts in them, and they can hold a lot of fish, a lot of snapper, but also in the mangrove trees, you'll find lobsters as well. So check out the mangrove trees too. Even these outer ones, these outer islands are really good. All right, and now let's come back here. Cujo Key. Now, there's a spot you can launch your kayak right here. It's called Blimp Road. You can launch your kayak, hit up these areas, these islands here. I would say, from a kayak standpoint, launching here from No Name Key, there's a little it's not a ramp, but there's a way you can probably scoot your kayak right through these rocks here and then launch from there. So that's a good spot too. I mean, and again, you can lobster all this area here and find some holes. So let's see, let's reorient ourselves. There we go. All right. So Kujay Key, like I said, Blimp Road is a good spot to kind of launch from. Now, making your way here. Now, if you want to do a beach dive, I've dove from Smathers Beach here and just kind of just work this area, and there's lobsters here off of Smathers Beach. So, there's plenty of areas to lobster. You can even go out to some grass flats out in the bay here, and you can do some bully netting. Right, go out at night. They walk around in the grass, and get some lobsters that way too. But other than that, I mean, I think this is a really good start for anyone who's starting lobstering, or wants to get their feet wet in that. And I think this is a really good start. So if you guys have any questions, or perhaps I forgot to mention anything, please leave a comment. I will try to respond to all your comments and whatnot. But again, you just got to get out there and start marking some spots. But if you're in Fort Lauderdale, you go to that first reef, you don't really need to mark any spots. You just just let the current take you. Just drift dive the reef, and you'll run into lobsters. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Again, comment, subscribe, like the video if you can. Appreciate it, and I'll see you guys on the water.